Imagine walking into school every day, knowing you're a target. Imagine never eating lunch in the cafeteria because the taunts are too loud, the stares too sharp. That was Elena's life. But one afternoon, when she was dragged into the boys' bathroom by a group of bullies, everything changed. What she did next not only had her tormentors running for their lives, but it also exposed a secret that would turn the entire school upside down. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll see how courage can come from the most unexpected place, and how one girl's decision changed more than just her own life. Elena Torres was the kind of student you didn't notice, at least not for the right reasons. She wore hoodies a size too big, her hair tied back in a messy braid, and she always sat in the back of the class. But invisibility was a survival tactic. In her school, being invisible meant safety, or at least, less danger. Her father worked nights at the factory, her mother cleaned houses, and Elena never complained about having second-hand shoes or textbooks held together with tape. But the bullies didn't need a reason to target her. Her quietness, her thrift store clothes, her silence, all of it made her stand out. They called her Mute Mouse. They knocked her tray down at lunch. They shoved notes in her locker with words too cruel to repeat. And Elena, she endured. Until the day things went too far. It was after gym class. Elena was walking down the hall, her arms full of books, when Jake Carter and his friends appeared. Jake was the kind of boy who ruled the school with a smirk. His father owned 3 dealerships in town. He never wore the same sneakers twice. His group of friends followed him like shadows. "Hey, Mouse," Jake sneered, blocking her way. "Heard you can't even speak unless someone scares it out of you. Want us to test that?" Before she could react, one of his friends grabbed her arm. Another pushed her books to the floor. And then, with laughter echoing in her ears, they shoved her through the door of the boys' bathroom. The sharp scent of disinfectant hit her nose. The tiles echoed with their laughter. The door slammed shut behind them. "Say something, Mouse," Jake teased. "Or are you too weak to even scream?" Her back hit the cold wall. They formed a half-circle around her, their grins stretching wider. Elena's heart pounded so loud she thought the whole school could hear it. For years, she had swallowed her fear. For years, she had stayed silent. But this time, something inside her cracked. She reached into her pocket. Her fingers brushed the one thing she had carried with her since last summer, the small black canister her older cousin had given her after a terrifying incident at the bus stop. It wasn't much. Just pepper spray. But in Elena's trembling hands, it became something else entirely. Jake leaned closer, his mocking smile inches from her face. "Come on, Mouse, squeak for us." That's when Elena raised her hand. The hiss of the spray filled the room. Screams erupted. Jake staggered back, clutching his eyes. His friends scrambled, coughing, shouting, tripping over each other as the sting of pepper spray filled the bathroom air. Elena's own eyes watered, but she stood tall for the first time in her life. Her voice, quiet but steady, cut through the chaos. "Don't ever touch me again." And for the first time, the bullies didn't laugh. They ran. But what Elena didn't know was that this one act of defiance would ripple far beyond that bathroom. By the next day, everyone in school would know her name, and the truth about the girl they once called Mute Mouse. News traveled fast. By morning, the story spread across the hallways like wildfire. Elena Torres had taken down Jake Carter and his gang in the boys' bathroom. The details were exaggerated, of course. Some claimed she had carried a knife, others swore she'd taken on 5 boys at once with martial arts moves. But one thing was certain, she was no longer invisible. When she walked into school, whispers followed her. Some students looked at her with awe. Others with fear. Even teachers glanced at her differently, unsure how to treat the girl who had stood up to the untouchable Jake Carter. But not everyone was whispering. Jake's father stormed into the school demanding suspension, threatening lawsuits. "My son was assaulted by that delinquent girl," he shouted at the principal. Elena sat in the office, her hands folded in her lap, her heart racing. For a moment, she thought it was all over. That her courage would be punished. That she would be sent home in disgrace. But then, something unexpected happened. One by one, students began speaking up. A shy boy from her math class admitted Jake had stolen his homework for months. A freshman confessed Jake's gang had shoved him into lockers every day since the first week of school. A cheerleader quietly said Jake had spread cruel rumors about her after she refused to go out with him. And suddenly, the narrative shifted. It wasn't Elena on trial, it was Jake. The principal leaned back in his chair, his face pale. The teachers exchanged uncomfortable looks. For years, they had turned a blind eye to Jake's behavior because of who his father was. But now the truth was out in the open. Jake was suspended. His friends scattered. And Elena. She was no longer the mouse in the corner. But the story didn't end there. Because Elena had discovered something inside herself she never knew she had, a voice. She began speaking up in class, not loudly, but firmly. She started helping other kids who were bullied, walking them to class, sitting with them at lunch. She even joined the debate team, a decision that shocked everyone, including herself. At first, her voice trembled. At first, her hand shook when she stood at the podium. But with each word, with each sentence, she grew stronger. And soon, the girl who had once hidden in silence became the girl others looked to for courage. Months later, when she stood on the stage at the school assembly to accept an award for Student of the Year, Elena looked out at the sea of faces. Some smiled, some clapped, some still whispered, but none of them looked at her the way they once had. She took a deep breath. The microphone caught her words clearly. To anyone who's ever felt small, invisible, or afraid, remember this. Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about standing up when you've had enough. And sometimes, one moment of bravery can change everything. The applause was thunderous. And somewhere in the crowd, even Jake Carter lowered his eyes, unable to meet hers. Elena Torres had once been a girl trapped in silence. But that day in the boys' bathroom, she had spoken louder than words ever could. And it changed her life forever.